today's episode on the journey of mental health. Today we are tackling drug and substance abuse. And with me is Miss Kuria, aka the founder and CEO of Nyuzi Halisi. Karibu sana, Sylvia.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm quite well, thank you. How are you?
Good.
All right.
Salama.
Sawa.
Great. When we started doing this journey of mental health, at the very beginning of this conversation, you highlighted that there's a story that you'd like to highlight, and we would like to hear it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sylvia Kuria, and as Danton has mentioned, when he approached me about this conversation on mental health, I felt the need to want to share my story as a mental health champion and the one who has been able to overcome a few things and found a way of living with whatever conditions I have been diagnosed with. Yes.
Great. So what's your story?
Well, there's a lot that I could say, but I have PTSD, and I have depression and anxiety, and I used to have narcissistic disorder.
Narcissistic disorder?
Yes.
What is that? Narcissistic
disorder is just a condition that can either be inherited or it comes with time, like it is obtained. Yes, so the condition then, or when I had it, it was obtained. And it's basically low self-esteem, and which is turned around due to constant negative criticism that one ends up basically, I'll just highlight, and it's basically an individual making other people feel inferior so they could feel superior. But when you look deep inside, this person just has self-esteem issues. And mine came across so along because of a few things that I went through as a child and also as a teenager. But right now, as an adult, I can't relate to what that is anymore.
Great. So when it comes to matters drug and substance abuse, what's the story?
Well, it's not a very long one, but it's a very intense one. My dad used to drink. Unfortunately, and forgive me for this choice of words, but he was an alcoholic. And I remember swearing to myself that I'll never partake in alcoholism. But due to certain events, I ended up there. And it got to a point of also using marijuana and ecstasy. Yeah.
So what?
Ecstasy.
What is that?
It's a drug.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So when did all this start?
By the time in 2013, one of my friends tried, my best friend then, she was quite the party person. So we would go out and I'll drink and I'll be like, it's not bad, but I don't have reasons to, but it's okay. So I just used to be a social drinker. And then I met more of her friends who were like, Apana, try this. And then that particular night when I had too much, I felt like I had a reason to do whatever it is that I did. So I felt like my reasons were justified. All right. And I was a very, very lightweight, so very little took me very far, very fast. But it became more and worse in 2014. I was in school and I found out that my dad was sick. Then the doctor told me that, I remember the doctor talking to me and telling me that my dad didn't have so long to live. And when you're told that, it's quite indefinite. And I remember also my dad, when my dad started this medication and the treatment and whatnot, he told me that it could go either way. So I started drinking. I came across some money, a large amount. And I was like, what?
Like how much?
Just a large amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
N amount.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, yeah. And I would drink and I'll go home and my dad would smell it on me. And he couldn't say much. I think he understood where I was coming from. And one day after discharging my dad from hospital, we passed by the supermarket and he told me, go pick whatever you want. And I told him, by the way, I'm buying wine. And he was like, okay, all right, okay.
And what was the facial expression?
What I have just given you.
Wow.
Yeah, because my dad had given me the talk about alcohol. We used to drink kidogo, ile wine, table wine and whatnot at home, champagne once in a while, just, yeah. So that day, I remember I took quite a few bottles of wine. And I remember going to the washroom because I got alcohol poisoning. And I went to the washroom to a point where I got dehydrated. And I remember my dad and my uncle putting me in the car, but I don't remember getting to hospital.
You passed out?
Yes. So when my dad and the doctor were talking, my dad was like, haka nikangu, haka ika nikangu, like, kanalewa. Yeah, I was avoiding using my native language, but yeah, yes. And I don't know how I felt about that, but it couldn't replace what I was feeling. Even that drinking couldn't replace how I was feeling. That one day, very soon, but not so soon, my dad is leaving us. But I don't know when. So eventually he did. June 2014. And we laid him to rest, I think, on 8th July. So June and July are not the best months for me. Unfortunately, it's my birthday month, Wow. So yeah. I know. But you learn, you live. Then after losing my pups, I tried to be okay about the whole situation. My brother and I had a back and forth. But then I wasn't drinking because I couldn't drink. My brother was back home. He's my big bro. He knows that I drink, but I don't need him to know.
To actually confirm it.
Yes. I don't need him to put a stamp in. Yeah, confirmed. No. So 1, 2, 3 things led to the other. Then fast forward to 2016. I was raped. Yeah. And I didn't take it very well.
Who will take it very well?
No one. But here's the thing. I was so disconnected already emotionally that even how I spoke about it, I wasn't proud. Like, oh, dancer, I can't rape. No, that wasn't the reaction. But I was a bit too calm that people didn't believe when I said that it actually happened.
Sorry.
And I remember talking to my brother, and I think he just didn't know what to do. I don't know how he reacted. I don't know what he did. But I remember talking to friends who actually now stood with me, and they handled the situation with the seriousness I expected it to be handled with. And now that was my turning point.
So you talked to friends and they gave you the support that you needed.
Yes.
The support you felt like your family, and particularly your brother, didn't offer that particular point.
Yeah.
How was life after?
It's never the same. Now I became extremely desensitized. Yes. To a point where I'm here, we are laughing, we're having a good time, but am I? Get what I'm saying? Like, the air and I were the same thing. Yeah. The wind and I were the same thing. It's present but not. Yeah.
You can't touch it, you can't feel it.
You can't touch it, you can't feel it. But the days that I could, I expressed it to those that I felt I could be myself around, which took quite some time.
And did you seek psychological support?
No.
Okay.
No. I didn't want to go down that path because I felt like I had already been rejected in other ways before. I didn't want to face that again. I didn't want to feel misunderstood. I had already felt misunderstood before. Yeah. So I just decided to deal with things my way or the highway.
And what was your way?
My way was alcohol, going out, drugs, and yeah. I did that for some time, 2 years straight. Yeah.
Wow. And at the end of the 2 years that you took your way, do you still feel like it's necessary to seek psychological help?
Yes. But I won't do it entirely though. Because it's not that it's not helpful. I know it is helpful. But my support system has gotten me so far. Okay. And I'm okay with that.
You're okay. Yeah?
I'm okay with that.
Great,
yeah.
great. And so let me just go back to the 2 years that you took your way. Have they had an effect on you?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Because there are friends that I lost. There are relationships. Let me just say, generally, there are relationships that I lost. And I have lost a lot of time. I can't account for so many events. Well, because on top of everything else, I still had depression. So, yeah, I can't account for so many things because I was constantly high to not think about anything. And even when I wasn't high, I was high on my depression. I was high on the solidarity, even amongst people, or rather the solitude, even amongst people. Dance on, like I would come, we would have a complete conversation. But by the time I'm getting to the stage, you try and ask me, like, I'm like, what? What? Nah, yeah. Yeah.
You're in a totally different zone.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, still during these 2 years, will you say that there's something that you've lost? Or do you feel like you've lost something? Do you feel like you've lost time?
I really don't know because I know I went to school. I graduated as a chef, and at least there's that.
Great.
I made a few friends. The church where I used to minister, the worship team I was in, they stood by me. They now finally understood ABCDEFGH, and some of the people that I also met through the journey or through those 2 years have turned out to be the best people that I have met in my entire life. And I remember, like last year, I remember approaching 2 of them and I told them, it's like this. You guys are in my support system. I'm not asking. I'm not begging. I have interacted with you guys to a point where I feel safe around you. How they just connect with people made me feel like this is a safe space. And believe you me, till this very day, yeah, they're the kind of people, if I was getting married tomorrow, they will be amongst wazee when you want to negotiate. Dowry.
What is so different about them? What made you feel secure around them?
They never judged me. And it just felt like That's how it
Relief.
felt. It was a relief.
Mhm.
And then I remember one day I told them, guys, I'm not okay. And I want to drink until I'm okay. And they were like, okay, do you? We got you. So one day, one of them, I called him crying, like crying tears of pain and just so much going on. And he told me, okay. He listened to a point where I had to meet the wife because she's like, ay, huyu wanapiganga saa nane kila siku is how, yeah. And this is apparently, he brags that he has known me since I was in primary school. So I'm like, okay, since you've known me so long, then you know that I'm damaged. You know that I have ABCD going on. So might as well just continue. Yeah. And he's now my best friend.
Great. I'm happy that you were able to find help.
Yeah.
And in terms of a good support system.
Yeah.
Matters to do with substance abuse. What do you feel about it?
Anyone who has had to go through it, I don't blame them. But I wonder who they call their friends.
Why do you wonder?
Because sometimes, I know there is so much we've said through this series, but sometimes you just need somebody to be there for you. You don't have to be a psychiatrist, you have a PhD in what. Sometimes the dance on, I just need you to listen. And I will tell you the truth, when I will get drunk or use whatever I was using, it will get to a point where guys were like, apana, then you need to start taking water. Or I do something wrong, maybe insult someone or just cause some drama, my friends will be like, by the way, you didn't kufanya poa. Yeah. If your friends can do that for you, question so much about the people you're hanging out with. And despite what you're going through, I sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes, and I'll repeat myself and say, I just need you to listen. Now, once I am done talking, you can now tell me, now let me tell you my story. And then now, at the end of the day, we laugh about it. I end up consoling you because I'm like, by the way, me ata sina shida, you know. Yeah. Which is the truth.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
And when you say you need friends who will call you out, isn't it difficult to distinguish between judging and the actual calling you out simply because you're doing something that is contrary to what you're supposed to be doing?
Fun fact, I still used to pray.
Wow.
I still used to pray because first I grew up in a very... When Kemore was Kemore, my family was there, man. So there's that, and there's also the encounters I've had definitely with Christ. So I remember even one day in the midst of all that turmoil, I remember praying to God, and I was like, by the way, Mimi, I'm not the best sheep you have. I actually am black because of all the blemish I have. But please show me, and guide me, lead me through a path or on a path that is eventually going to get me back to you. Yeah.
And God is always there for us.
Yeah, and He is who He is.
Regardless of where we've come from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sorry to cut you short. And funny, part of my support system used to have an atheist. Yes.
Okay.
But because of their humanity, they stood by me. You get what I'm saying? And I also wasn't in a position to choose who's coming my way. Yeah. anyone who helped me in any way whatsoever, I appreciate till this day. Some not the best ways, some we drifted apart, but I'm still thankful. Yeah.
That they were there at
the time that I needed them.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. What would you like to tell someone who has a challenge with substance abuse?
Honestly, at the end of the day, it's all up to you.
Okay.
That's very vague. Let me try and explain. What I mean is, when unavanga nguo, unavaa viatu, unaenda, niaje. Transaction, ama you just drink. You have the option to say no. But that can never happen until you get to the point of realizing and accepting that you have a problem. Because I'll take you back to last year, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, last year I went through a very interesting breakup. And
interesting breakup.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Because it's not like we fell out of love, but because of what I was going through and my emotional turmoil, we had to just go our separate ways. Because he's an empath, and as I mentioned, I had the narcissistic disorder, so it was draining him a bit too much. And yeah. Though, before you ask your question, I'm sorry. It was through encountering this man that I learned how to love myself.
I didn't want you to first go there. There's a question I want to ask him. For purposes of our viewers, what is an empath?
An empath, as you want us to call them, is a person who is basically very in touch with the emotions, is very remorseful, and is not in a selfish way, but kind of maybe sorta, is more concerned with how other people are faring on emotionally than themselves. Okay. Yes.
So it's not about them, it's about you.
Yes, basically. Okay. Yeah. And so with that and everything else, I learned him loving me, and what we had taught me how to love myself, and it taught me that I'm actually capable of so much good if only it's tapped the right way.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yes.
Yes, so how did the breakup,
Now, when we broke up, I still used to drink. Yeah, some things. I still used to drink, and I still used to smoke a little MJ. And when we broke up, it hit me really hard that I was actually very damaged to a point that I could I could hurt somebody who actually genuinely cared about me, because it is what it is, or it was what it was then. And that really broke my heart. Like, I broke two hearts.
Yours.
I broke my heart and I broke his heart, but it also gave me a reality check that I'm actually capable, because it's not like what I felt for him was vague. It was actually very deep, because I saw things from a very different perspective. But then the bad and the good inside me used to clash too much. And the bad, which I had been used to for so long, used to overpower the good. Yes.
So given a chance today, will you still date him?
After so long, and after establishing our friendship till this day, I honestly don't know if I will date him, but I am glad that he's part of my life and he's never let me go.
Part of the reason as to why you say you broke up was the simple reason that you felt like you're hurting the people who cared for you. So what other consequence?
I also I wasn't able to develop a proper relationship with my brother as adults. And that also really broke me. And yeah, it's until recently that I accepted what was and what is. And we are working on it now.
Awesome.
And of all the relationships that I had, my relationship with my brother is what actually constantly broke my heart. But I'm glad for where we are right now. And the consequences that I've also had to face is at some point I was unemployable and I couldn't stand being employed because any criticism that came my way, I didn't see it as positive. And everybody felt like a monster in my story. And so there's the whole aspect of employment and just even accepting whatnot. So that's how I wanted something that was convenient for me and somewhere where I didn't have to necessarily meet my boss, you know. So that's how I ended up hosting karaoke.
Oh,
yes.
And how was it?
Hosting karaoke was fun because I do love to sing and I can sing. Well,
we'll do so after this.
and I would do what I like. I would drink.
Okay.
I would smoke. And I will sing. Yes.
So drink, smoke, drink,
and sing.
Drink,
smoke, and sing.
Sing. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, which also pushed me into my abuse.
Were you high when you're singing?
I was always high.
Okay.
I was always high. It got to a point where I would drink a bottle on my own, like 750 ml, and I'm like, hit me with your best shot.
So regardless of whether the crowd cheers you?
Oh, not regardless. They did.
Okay.
And I'm not bragging. They did.
All right.
Yeah.
Lens, my friend. Lens.
Yeah. Other consequences, memory lapse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like you will forget something that you've just done?
Not in that sense. MJ, marijuana. I didn't use it as a recreational drug. I used it to forget and be in the moment. And after that moment, I'll go home or wherever. Penye nitaanguka usingizi nga. And now you see, once you sleep, that's it. You're sleeping when you're still high, or rather, I will sleep when I'm still high. So my brain doesn't even have anything going on. So tomorrow I'll probably wake up with a hangover, or later during the day I'll wake up with a hangover and I'll be like, "Wee, baby, show ya jana ilikuwa poa, lakini nijue hiyo hangi." Yeah. Yeah.
Great, you're a victor. If you manage to stop. Coming to think about it, why did you stop? Why did you feel like you need to stop?
It got to a point where the high didn't work anymore. When I started using the pills, that's when I was like, yo, hello, you know? As I told you, I still used to pray. I still believe in God. And I would tell my friends to pray for me even when I was going through all that. So I will say my friends' prayers rescued me. But it also just got to a point where I was like, okay, what are we going to do next now, madam? Because it feels like we've gotten to the end. And if I do anything more than whatever it is that I'm doing right now, it's a point of no return. So I was like, Sly or Sylvia, enough is enough. So this year, January, I told one of my best friends and I was like, wow, my dear, I'm done. I stopped everything at a go. I was getting migraines. Zile I talked to my doctor, I'm crying tears. He's like, baby, me, you have to live through this, because my doctor also helped me through a few things. And he was like, you have to live through this. You have to be able to understand why you made this choice. Then I told one of my friends I want to go to rehab. And I mentioned it to one of my cousins. So there's a rehab I was taken to. And I was like, wait, me sina shida. Wait, me don't have problems. So my cousin told me, you're going to go to school and you're going to go for AA meetings. Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, for purposes of our viewers.
Yeah. So the first week I'm like, hey, trembling. Yani, because now reality was sinking and setting in, because I was like, girl, you got to this point. Look at you. I wasn't calling out myself like, shame on you. It was like, unaona pa umefika? So I went for a few meetings. I finished school. Then Corona happened. And I will tell you, without a doubt, Corona is the best thing that has happened to me. How are you wondering how?
Exactly.
When I stopped hosting karaoke, I stopped drinking as much as I used to. Then the same people that I used to tell to give me permission to just drink, I went and told them, now we are done drinking. I need to stop
drinking.
And they were like, okay.
If that is what you need.
Yeah. I am almost 2 months sober. And I'm so proud of myself.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how are you coping? Because the withdrawal symptoms
are real. Yes. I exercise. I read. I write.
Okay.
I am a columnist for the Motoring Press Agency magazine.
Okay.
Yes.
Big stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Big stuff.
And through the love and the grace and mercies of Christ, Nyuzi Halisi came to me in a dream.
And what is Nyuzi Halisi?
Nyuzi Halisi is an online-based company that focuses on handcrafted scarves, muffins, and we're still building on our items.
Like the one you're wearing?
Like what I'm wearing. Yes. This was handcrafted by me, and it was a way for me to decompress.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. I think I need one.
You need one?
Yes.
After this, tutapatana.
Yes, tutapatana after this.
Yes.
So Nyuzi Halisi in the recent past is helping you cope.
Yes.
With the situation.
Yes. One, because I genuinely needed a source of income. And I remember so that I could start the Nyuzi Halisi, I was desperate for a scarf. Like, I love wearing scarves. If you've known me for a while, whether it is woolen, whatever, cotton, I love scarves. And my auntie, her name is Tata Wambui.
Tata Wambui.
Yeah, Tata Wambui. She taught me how to knit when I was very young, around the age of 8 or 10. And so one day when I was seated in the house, I was like, okay, God, I'm done. Nimeshona, nimekunywa, nimerecover, nimemaliza. Like, what next? So I slept and I woke up and he showed me all these things in the dreams. And he showed me how everything would unfold and even the name of the brand. So I woke up. I remember I woke up and I was like, what? Nyuzi Halisi. I don't even know what Halisi means. Okay, nilienda 844, but Kiswahili tulisukuma kule. So
wahenga na wahenguzi.
Yeah, tuliachia wahenga. So after that, that's and I stuck with it and I ran with it, and here it is. It's helping me. I want to help people, not only through just giving them something to do through Nyuzi Halisi, but even just encouraging them that regardless of what you go through, regardless of what happens, there is hope. Only if you reach for it.
Great. Yeah. As we come towards the end of this interview, what does Nyuzi Halisi stand for? As in, all right, what are the principles of Nyuzi Halisi?
Okay, now Nyuzi Halisi stands for pure yarn.
Okay.
And I want to interpret and say that for me, it was a new beginning. And the principles are, for me, and what has been governing me so far is honesty, diligence, faithfulness, and love.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. For anyone who would like to order a scarf, hand crafted scarf, where can they reach you?
We are on Instagram, and I say we because we're a team.
All right.
Yes, it's just not a one-man battalion anymore. We are on Instagram. That's the best way you can reach us. And we the contacts are going to be put at the bottom of the screen or at the description below. So you can follow us on Instagram, and through the contacts that are going to be provided, you can be able to reach us that way.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being real.
All right.
See ya.
Baraka.
Okay. Hi, welcome to today's episode of Drug and Substance Abuse. My name is Danson Ndegwa, and I'll be your host. I would like to introduce our panel today, and I'll start from my far left.
Hi guys, my name is Mark Kinyanjui. I am a student at Moi University pursuing a degree in information sciences, and I'm also a sports journalist. Thank you.
Great.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Kabiru. I'm a mental health champion, the founder and lead psychologist at Hisia Psychology Consultants.
Great.
And I'm Grace Kashanja, a psychologist with Chiromo Mental Health Hospital. Thank you for having us.
Great. Karibuni sana. Mark, what is drug and substance abuse?
I think drug and substance abuse is the use of drugs and substances for purposes other than which they're intended to be used. Specifically for drugs, like now for instance, I may use Panadol as a medication to treat maybe malaria, and it's not something that I currently know that I am diagnosed with. For substances, is the use of let's say alcohol and marijuana and heroin and all those substances for purposes that may become catastrophic to your health. Yes.
Great. Nancy, what's your approach?
Drug, he's defined it, I'd say general, but what I would add to him is the fact that when you're abusing the substance, you're doing it to gain pleasure. Yeah. So, and the body or the mind becomes tolerable, and the dosage requirement keeps on increasing. So, for example, if on a case of a painkiller, if you're supposed to take 2 tablets once, you find that your body is tolerable to it. You need to take 3 times or 4 times of the same. If it is alcohol or other substances, you find that the quantity that we would work does no longer works. You need more of it into your system. So the intake of substances or drugs for the gain or for gaining pleasure. Yeah.
Great definition. Grace, what are the various types of drug and substance abuse?
I think when we're looking at drugs and substances of abuse, we have the ones that are termed as legal in Kenya.
Okay.
These will include cigarettes, miraa, alcohol, and coffee or caffeine.
Okay.
And by cigarettes, that falls under nicotine now. But then there's a variety of other drugs that are illegal and that are still abused locally. So under that, we'd have morphine, we'd have marijuana, we'd have heroin, we'd have ecstasy, we'd have, among others. And then there's, of course, the medication that is prescription, which is now what we may refer to as prescription drug abuse. So these are medications that are otherwise used for medical purposes. That is, their prescriptions for maybe pain relief or other diseases like the cough syrup, but can be abused or can be used for abuse. Now, under that, we'd probably have the injectables like ketamine or cough syrup, which was a bit rampant early in the year and maybe sometime last year. Yes.
Great. Nancy, what are the various causes of drug and substance abuse?
They range in different categories.
Okay.
You find that there are people who will start abusing drugs because of peer influence or because they feel that they have attained a certain age or career level. So they feel they have disposable income or they are at a point where they can now practice this because they have enough freedom. Then there are people who abuse drugs because it's a learned behavior. So they have grown observing or seeing and hearing people talking of the drugs or the substances giving them pleasure and they want to experience that.
The pleasure.
Then there is genetic predisposition where you find that when you are maybe conceived, the parent was taking drugs or genetically there's that need. Then there is a chemical imbalance where you find someone requires a certain drug to regulate their chemical in the brain, but they then don't go as per the prescription because of the pleasure it gives. It makes them addicted, and so they want to have that high throughout. And they could also be because someone is going through something and they are using the drugs and substance as an escape from the reality or from the pain that they are experiencing. So it makes them now adopt a certain personality that they are able to cope. So you find people saying, me, if I have not taken any alcohol, I can't be able to function. But when I have it, I get some courage. You find someone saying, when I take some whatever drug, then I'm able to think, I'm able to work hard. There is weed, where people say, if I take weed, I can take on any task. I have the energy to do it. So you find that this person, that is why they are abusing the drug, and it's because they are not addressing the root cause of the problem. They are trying to get a quick fix, but it doesn't take away the problem. Yeah.
Amazing. Grace, can someone abuse medication in terms of the medication you given in hospital?
Yes, you can. And I think one of the things that we all have to be very cautious of is that it has actually been on the rise. A lot more often than not, especially with the pain meds, you'll notice that a lot of the medication that's given often for pain, that is, you're told to only take for this duration of time. And the doctor is also if you go to the chemist, there's medication for pain, for example, that you can't buy without a prescription, which happens in all chemists. And it's not just pain meds, it's a variety of medication. And these medications are what can be called controlled substances. Yes, they're used to treat or manage other conditions, but the risk of abuse is also very high. So yes, someone can abuse prescription medication.
What will be the consequences of abusing medication?
One, sensitivity to it generally decreases with time. Nancy earlier mentioned that there's something that we call tolerance when it comes to addiction or substance abuse. And tolerance is the fact that your body gets used to certain levels of the drug being around, that you need higher doses for it to be effective. So, for example, if you go to the chemist or you go to see your doctor and you're prescribed two painkillers 3 times a day, if you're consistently taking painkillers, even for mild headache that doesn't necessarily need painkillers, it probably needs you to take a rest or water or just take a breather and take some time off. If you're always popping Panadol, it will get a time where if you go to the hospital and you're given that same Panadol or that same paracetamol, you'll tell the doctor, this doesn't work for me. So if Panadol doesn't work for you, the doctor will probably go to the next thing, Brufen. But then you've been also using Brufen. So that also doesn't work. What that happens is that you're going to need a stronger and stronger dosage of painkiller so that the same degree of a headache can go down because your body has gotten used to the presence of that drug around. So what happens is that when you get addicted to prescription drugs, that you'll need higher and higher doses of that medication just to get relief from the same variety of pain. So we may be both having a headache, but because you have been abusing Panadol, then the doctor will probably opt to give you something like Betapin for a headache that is just as similar to mine, which I'm being managed with Panadol. And that happens across the board for all drugs, not just prescription drugs.
Deep stuff. Deep stuff. Mark,
Yes.
what is the role of peers and friends in matters to do with drug and substance abuse?
It's both positive and negative, but I'll focus only on the negative. Peer pressure is real. Let's first put it at that. Because, for example, if I'm in campus and it's been a long week, my friends may come tell me, hey, Leo Mark, twende klabu bana, twende klabu. And because you don't want to be left behind, you don't want to look like you're the bookworm or the holy Joe there, you'll obviously agree to the situation. And so you'll end up going. Something else on the negative is that, especially on the eve of exams or something, I have friends who are actually stimulated by the use of substances like marijuana. Like now, for instance, I won't mention his name. You probably don't know him, but I have a friend who ended up getting an A- from a day school. And it's because he used to use marijuana. Because I think marijuana used to sort of like, while it may slow down some people, it may tend to stimulate other people.
Yeah, ilikuwa inamuonyesha kitabu. Okay.
So, ilikuwa inafanya like akue zile za nasoma. And then he's like doing the exams. He doesn't know what he's writing, but he knows it's the right thing. Are you getting what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't know what he's writing on the papers, but he knows it's the right thing he's writing.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
and he got an A-.
Yeah, and he got an A-.
All right.
Because even Sly was saying in the interview that she used to take marijuana to get out of her problems, to make her like sort of like forget what she was doing. So for this guy, yes, he's studying. He doesn't get the concept. He probably doesn't understand the concept, but he's sort of like cramming it, like inaingia kwa computer auto, ni kama inaingia kwa hard drive, inajisave pale automatically. So by the time he's writing the papers, the content on the paper, he doesn't know what he's writing, but he knows what he's writing is the correct thing, and that's why he ended up getting an A-. I don't know.
Nancy, what do you feel about
Nancy?
I can't go to the science behind drugs or what they do. Like if it would stimulate your mind to actually cram, I don't have the facts. I'd have to maybe read on the research that has been conducted. But peers have a reinforcing element to drugs and substance. So you find that someone who is abusing drugs, since their peers are not judging, they're encouraging their behavior, then the person does not see anything wrong with it. Sometimes you could be going through something, but until somebody points out to you the negative of it, then you will just conform throughout. So peer will reinforce the behavior. Then when it comes to family, most families will reject someone who is taking drugs and substance abuse, or they will go through stigma. So the fact that you cannot be open when you're taking or abusing drugs makes people do it in secret. And when you're doing it in secret, you don't have much time. So you cannot control yourself or how much you're taking. So that is the effect of peer and family. Yeah.
Great. Mark.
Yes.
you've given us a very interesting illustration.
Yeah.
What are the other possibilities, or what are the other consequences of drugs and substance abuse?
I think memory lapse is one, because I was telling you, like what I was saying, in as much as this guy didn't know what he was writing, he knew it was the correct thing. You get. And by the time his results were coming out and he had an A-, if you'd ask him to repeat the same test without the use of these drugs, this marijuana, he probably wouldn't know anything. You get what I'm saying? So memory loss is one, and I think the most common side effect of misusing drugs and substances. Yes.
Grace, what's your feel on this?
I'm just liking the idea of behind. And if I were to be real, any single person who uses marijuana, to be very specific, has their own very fascinating out of this world ideas behind the benefits of its use. There are the creatives who will say that my third eye opens and I can focus more. There are those ones who will read and will feel like they are doing everything right. But I'll say this, for as many as will use it and pass their exams like that one, I think that one can be considered an anomaly. There are just as many who will use marijuana and flop like no one's biashara. I am almost sure that there's a teenager who's going to watch this, a youth who's going to watch this, and they'll be like, so yeah, I should use marijuana and then I'm going to get an A- in my KCSE. Please, I kid you not. Hamejisemea, utajipata tu uko hivyo nje. Because for as many as there are quote unquote benefits, which when it comes to drug and substance abuse, the benefits are minimal, if any. There are just as many effects of its use. And that can vary from poor concentration. It can vary from negative implications on your relationship with the people that are your family, your friends. It can go to as high as actually triggering a mental illness that will be with you for the rest of your life. And I say this from experience. Drug and substance abuse is no joke. Yeah, you'll get the short-term benefits. You'll cope with what it is that you're going through on a day-to-day. You'll feel high. You'll have fun. But to what end? You know? To what end? It starts slowly. It builds up. You get addicted. It literally leaves you one, like a person who's on an island, because it destroys every single aspect of you. It affects your schooling, it affects your education, it affects your work, it affects your friendships, it affects your family relationships. And what that leaves you is just one person like this, you and the drug, and nothing else. With no one to turn to, with no one to talk to. Yeah, and if you find that you have friends around, they're probably the same friends who are encouraging you to use. And if you call to them for help, they're not going to be there to assist. Sylvia was lucky. She has really good friends who are there through thick and thin. Not everyone is that lucky, sadly. Not everyone is that lucky.
And I think it's scary to realize that there'll be no one to stand with you.
Yeah, but for the thing that a lot of people, and this is probably something that as we are starting this conversation, it's something that we continue building on, is for this one person, I think with a question, the role of friends. When someone is using drugs. The role of friends, yes, there's peer pressure, and they're going to encourage you to use. And this peer pressure doesn't only happen in teenagers, it doesn't only happen with people in campus. It even happens with us who are working. It even happens when you're 30 and you're all parenting. It happens when you're 50 and you're all near retirement. Peer pressure is going to be constant all through. But the kind of friends you keep around can be of two kinds. There'll be the peer pressure that comes in a negative way, one that encourages you to use. But there's also going to be the peer pressure that calls you out. Goes like, by the way, vile unaenda ufanyi fit. You've been using all this time. Have you fed your family? When is the last time you sat down to read a book? But the same peer pressure needs to be very cautious. Is it going to push you towards the substance use, or is it calling out your negative behavior?
Nancy. There's so many ways that we find on the internet in terms of how to quit, how to get out of drug and substance abuse. What have you seen work, over the years as you've been practicing?
Well, for someone to stop the use of drugs and substance, they have to first be willing. They have to have made a decision for themselves. Many a times people are pushed in for therapy, to rehabilitation, but because they are not doing it for themselves, then they don't stop because they have no conviction to stop. So it has to start from a personal level. So the conviction can be one, emotional, in that there's something that you relate to, that you think the drugs or the substance is making you miss or is affecting the people around you. It can also be mental, in the sense that you've realized that you're now developing other conditions because of the drugs and substance you've been using, and your mental functioning is not 100%. And it could also be because of your occupation. You need to progress with life, but you cannot be able to sustain the progress you're looking for because you're reliant on the substance abuse. So that can be one thing. Then when you make a decision, when you have the conviction, you need to go in for psychotherapy. You may need to go into a rehab to detox. And you may need to be on medication depending on the level where your mind is, how your mind is functioning. You may need to go to rehab, and then people need support. Okay, so by that time you choose who you want your friends to be or your family to be. The role of people close to you is very, very important. Knowing that they affirm your decision, they are not judging you, and how you feel about your decision also. In that, does it build on your self-esteem? So those are the factors that can enable someone to completely stop the use of drugs and substance.
Great, amazing. Mark, do you have anything to?
She's actually said everything, so
She has summed it all up.
Yeah.
Grace, I'll throw this question to you. What are the possible outcomes in the journey to recovery?
Okay. The one thing that we all need to be very cautious of is that this journey comes in steps or in stages. When you're looking at the whole substance abuse addiction continuum, it comes as a process. So we need to, at one point, also recognize where, when you're looking at one person in specific, where are they at in this journey? Are they at a point where they don't even recognize they have a problem? Or have they gotten to the point where they're like, yes, I have an issue, but it's not something that I really need to deal with. My substance use, my use of pombe, my use of marijuana. Yeah, it's an issue, but siko ready to address. And then there are those who are at the point where, yes, it's causing a problem. Yes, it's affecting my health. It's affecting my relationships. I need to do something. At that point, they're at action. So these are the people who are going to seek me out. They're going to seek out Nancy. They're going to seek out rehabilitation centers. They're going to seek out psychiatrists. They're going to go to their family and go like, but they have been thinking, or even go to Rev and thinking, and they're like, I think I need to quit. Malin mefika, I need to quit. And at this point, there are a lot of people who get to that point, but either they go past that point or they don't even ever arrive there. Now, those ones who get to that point and they're like, from today henceforth, I'm not drinking, it's a wrap. And that person will never drink. But there are people who need support moving forward, either counseling or rehabilitation or medication, the whole shebang, right? And these people, after they make that decision to stop using, then they start their life of maintenance. Now they're continuing their journey. They've gone for a month, they've gone for 2 months, they've gone for a year without using. A lot of us, as the community as a whole, as the people around these people, as a support system, feel that when a person makes this decision, it's a wrap. I should never see you using. I should never see you drinking. I should never see you smoking. Like, you're healed. The downside that we don't ever recognize is that there's another step that comes after that that we all need to be very cautious of. Relapse. So in this journey, the eventualities, there are people who are able to quit and stay the rest of their life without using. There are people who are able to quit, go 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, maybe a month, maybe 2, and then relapse. And then they go through the whole cycle again, and then quit again, and then relapse. Go through the whole cycle again, and then relapse. So relapse is part of their journey. And it's something that we need to be very cautious of. And relapse doesn't only happen when a person has gone through some time without using. It can even happen at that point where they're looking for help. And then they decide, but si lazima, I don't have to. Relapse can occur at any point. So when it comes to the treatment and management of substance abuse, I think one of the most difficult things that as a support system for this person that we need to come to terms with is that relapse is part of the disease. And I call addiction a disease because it is a disease. Relapse is part of the disease. And the sooner we recognize that as a society, as a support system, then we know when a person relapses, hatumkemei, tunamsaidia. Tunamsaidia kufika ile point yenye alikuwa mbeleni. Kama alikuwa amesonga miaka 5, tunamwambia boss, ulikuwa umemake it 5 years. We can do it again. Ulikuwa umemake decision ya kustop. We can do it again. And that's where I think the support system plays a really big role. And also coming to a therapist like Nancy or I, talk to someone so that you understand what exactly is happening, what exactly led to this relapse, so that we can be 100% supportive of such a person.
Amazing conversation. Mark,
Yes.
do you feel like there's anything that you've left out?
I read somewhere, and I think it's actually true, that there are usually 3 stages.
Okay.
The first stage is denying, the second one is accepting, and then the third one is recovering. And it's been said a lot over the previous shows that it has to get better before it gets worse. So by that, I think when in denial that you're not addicted to substances, I think that's stage 1. People are telling you, and it's clear as day that you clearly need help, but you are still at a point where you think, and ka Friday tu iishe ni ya mwisho, but then it still doesn't happen. And then the second one is long after it's hit you, like what Sylvia was saying, it hit her. I think that's acceptance, and then there is the recovery period where it may take it may depend, like Grace has said, where one person may say, I'm never gonna take alcohol again, and that's it. Others may say that, but it still keeps on happening. So I think that's what I can add. There are 3 stages, and it has to get better before it gets worse. It has to get worse before it gets better. Yes, I think that's what I can say.
Amazing. That's a wrap. We've come towards the end of drug and substance abuse. We may not have dived so much into details, but in case you have any question, you can always reach us on our platforms, YouTube. You can always reach Grace Kashanja, Nancy Kabiru, and Mark, for clarity. Ladies and gentlemen, what are your final remarks?
I think what I've said before is what I'll repeat again. It has to get better, worse before it gets better.
It has to get
worse
before it gets better.
Because it's a process. And Kefa said a few weeks earlier that it's okay if you're going through problems like this, because sometimes that may be the best thing to ever happen to you for long-term sake. Because if you end up recovering, you'll have gained this experience where you can help others from getting to the situation that you are in. So I think that's what I can say.
Great. Nancy?
My encouragement to people out there If you're going through drugs and substance abuse, or you're recovering, you're someone going through the journey, be encouraged. It is important to draw out your long-term and your short-term goals, because without having a clear path of where you're going, you will only be dependent on the substance. And that is why relapses happen. So when you know where you want your life to be, then you're able to peel off the layer that is pulling you down, and you're able to focus on what you want to put out there, the person you want to put out there, or the output you want to have for yourself. It has to be for yourself, starts with you as an individual. And in case you need to talk to someone, feel free to reach out.
An important thing to remember when it comes to drug and substance abuse is that you really have to be honest with yourself. And honesty starts from you looking at yourself and saying, the amount of substances that you're using right now, what are the effects it's having on your life? What are the effects it's having on your finances? What are the effects it's having on your social circles? What are the effects it's having on your school, on your education, on your work? All those facets of aspects of yourself. And then look at it and look at, if you maintain on the path that you're on currently, where does that lead you in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years? Considering that when it comes to substance abuse, the intensity only gets higher. If you continue on the same path, you'll only continue taking more amounts of alcohol. You'll only continue taking more cigarettes. You'll only continue taking more marijuana. Yeah. So when you look at that path, be completely honest. Is that something you want for yourself? The person you see in the mirror, is that the person you want to continue seeing for the rest of your life? Can you even look at that person and be honest and say, I honestly love that person? Or is that something you'd like to change? And if the answer to that is yes, then do something about it. Support is all around. Professionally, we at Chiromo Mental Health Hospital are here for you. And we also have our sister facility, the Retreat, which offers our rehabilitation services. So yeah, we're here to help. Reach out.
And at PCA Kikiu Township, we got you. Thank you. Please remember to like and to subscribe. See you same time, same venue, on a different day.